me when I watched the Rings of Power finale.
I felt ill.
That really was a show of our time.
Oh god, it was so bad. It was just kind of constantly bad, and like member berries, like they've already compressed the timeline so much to make all these things happen at once, but everything just happens in this one episode as well. Like they've gone above and beyond to cram everything into one episode.
It's what happens, especially when sometimes you'll go a few episodes without seeing certain characters, like Nori and the Harfoots, whatever.
Yeah.
Because really, this season, I feel like we've only really gotten one episode's worth, if that, of their story. So I think they're like, oh shit, we have to wrap that up and like cover all these story beats.
We got in trouble for kind of enjoying last episode. And one of the main reasons we pointed out was that it was focused. We actually got to see a thing happen.
Yeah.
And this episode is the complete flip of that, where it's like, oh, we have 8 storylines we need to show you. Here they are. Like, enjoy.
So you get just about 10 minutes with everybody, kind of.
It feels like it, yeah. You get 10 minutes and you're like, cool. And most people don't get a wrap-up. They just get a, hey, remember them, we're going to see them next season. But we'll get into it, starting off with the first, hey, remember them, we'll see you next season. Tell me about Durin and Papa.
Oh, so Durin decides he has to be the one to stop Papa.
It's finally time to act.
He kisses his beautiful wife and he says, whatever you hear, do not come down there after me. I didn't mind this next scene where he's like, trying to connect with his dad. He does like the very tropey thing of like, if I can't get through him with stern words, I'll get through him in the heart. Remember when, Papa?
The one thing I've seen people online that like is the Durin stuff, and it's because it's the most focused, it's family, there's a definite bond there between characters, and also it helps that both the actors are actually legitimately good, and they're put into their craft.
I think Dwarven passion.
They're a passionate people.
Yeah, it lets you like act, you can act really big.
Yeah, that's the one storyline that people seem to like, and now that's kind of going to end because Papa dead now because the Balrog's here.
Papa digs a bit too deep, and then he's like, just as he's embracing everything, just when you think it was trying to do something original, it does the same ankle whip grab to King Durin that it does to Gandalf.
Yeah.
And like pulls him back.
It's beyond homage. It's not even just like a sly reference. That's the first main thing in this episode where they're like, look, we're Lord of the Rings. Like, we have literally the Balrog that you know and love doing the exact same thing.
He does the same trick because it's the same Balrog. They're not referencing something. They're straight up copying something
that is better than them.
They just copied it.
It's gross. But that's our first one. But then Dad doesn't fall off the cliff because he survives, because we need to get the ring back, because that ring, I guess, sticks around. I know the 9 rings of men obviously go to the Nazgul, but I don't know what happens to the Dwarven ones. I'm not that deep.
I mean, you see in the intro, you see them all holding a ring, and I guess they don't have their rings yet. So I think that'll be next season is the brother's going to come in, get the rings to the kings, and Durin's going to be in charge of saving dwarf kind.
Yeah, so Dad can't die. So Dad gives the ring back and then decides he's going to hold off the Balrog alone because obviously Khazad-dûm can't get destroyed yet because they need Durin for the next season. So Dad sprints out there, even though he was mortally wounded a second ago. Like, everyone in this episode goes from like half dead on the floor to like second wind. Like, everyone has second chance perks. But he jumps at the Balrog and is going to fall so short.
Yeah.
I made the joke during, I'm like, but he's always short.
Dwarves can't jump. That's why Gimli needs
canon.
That's why Gimli needs Aragorn to throw him.
Whereas this man has like 10 seconds of airtime in slow motion.
It kind of looks a bit goofy because like he's like moving his legs a bit, but he like does like an axe clash with the Balrog, and it's just like power ripple.
Yeah, he defeats the
and
Balrog.
Like, I guess just caves it in again.
But he doesn't have the ring on, so it's like one guy shouldn't even stand a chance.
That's dwarven craftsmanship for you.
But he's going to fall so short, and then the Balrog swings at his axe to make it a cool clash. If the Balrog did nothing, this man would have just like landed, gone, oh, and then it's like, but no, he dies. But then, there's a collapse, so the Balrog is trapped again, and they like show rocks falling on him because again, he can't come out because we know that Balrog attacks Gandalf.
Yes,
and even though it's doing so many things wrong, this show still is adamant that it is Lord of the Rings prequel, even though it's not. There's so many things that they've changed and done weird. I guess they have a line.
Yeah.
The Balrog could go on holidays, but at the end of whatever the Balrog does, he needs to be back in that mine.
Because they want to go 5 seasons with this. That's the last time we're going to probably see a Balrog. They had their chance to do a thing with a Balrog, but they used it for 1.5 minutes, maybe 1.5 minutes, and then now they like caved it in again.
Yeah, that bit with the Balrog is over now, and, and we're not going to see him for a while.
And he was built up this whole season.
Yep.
Man, that's insane, kind of thinking about that. They built up the Balrog the entire time. He killed one guy and got caved in again. I know it was the king, but come on.
At the end of the episode, they do a little wrap-up montage, and we get a little bit more of the dwarves, which is like another 2 minutes. And it's literally the empty throne, and Disa's like, we need a new king. And then Durin's like, I guess it'll be me. And then the random dwarf that I guess is the advisor that keeps rocking up to give exposition. He's like, oh, your dad never officially made you his heir. First of all, fucking why? He's been walking around as Prince Durin for 2 seasons with like a thing on.
Either he's saying his own name, but the king's last words are King Durin. So unless he's referring to himself.
But no one else was there.
Disa and the advisor were there.
Oh shit, they were right next to him, because they were holding him back. He's like, hold me back, bro, I want to go after that Balrog. Then the advisor also dumps on us that a bunch of the other lords, the dwarf lords, are vying for the throne as well.
They're like, they've already paid tribute, so they're coming to get what's theirs.
But that's not what tribute means, unless he made them pay for the rings of power. He's like, if you give me riches, I'll give you the ring of power. In which case they want the ring of power, and that's what he meant. But it's a weirdly vague statement. And then he's like, drops the bomb.
Your brother seems to be gathering support.
Your brother is also vying for the throne. Maybe he's a little brother, but where is he? Why haven't we seen him?
But then doesn't that mean the brother should just get it automatically? There shouldn't be your brothers vying for it.
Yeah, I'm like 90% sure the brother has never been mentioned before. But I think what they want to do is they want to make next season House of the Dragon, but dwarves.
Yeah.
And the annoying thing is they're doing the exact same with Numenor. So we're just having like 2 different things vying for the throne. So they want 2 random political dramas. That's it. That's where they end it. And they're just like, they just literally tell you, by the way, the dwarves next season are a political drama. Credits. And it's like, fuck, all right. But then we cut from that to Gandalf. We'll spoil it now. Gandalf is Gandalf. They keep dropping the hard R in the middle of his name.
Well, he chooses that name, kind of.
No, he like foretells it. He's like, they're going to call me Gandalf. And it's like, at some point in history, does fucking Justin Timberlake walk in and say, drop the R, and then leave? Like, how does...
Dude, that name would be way cooler if you didn't have the hard R in it.
I hear we're not using the hard R anymore, my man.
Dude, some guy walks in and is like, sup, Gandalf? And I was like, you can't say that anymore.
Dude.
That's his word. But no, so Gandalf finally finds the sand hobbit's home.
Because he chose friendship. Last episode... Sorry, not last episode, 2 episodes. We didn't see Gandalf last episode. 2 episodes ago, Bombadil was like...
Choose your staff or choose your friends.
You must do this or this. And he chose friendship. Turns out that was the test.
The real staff was the friendship we made along the way.
No, the real staff was a tree that had a dead guy buried under it. And I don't know how we didn't pick up on that.
I knew that tree was going to be important.
We had 2 minutes with the Harfoots 2 episodes ago, and all they talked about was that one tree. And our little stupid brains didn't even realize the most obvious thing ever. I'm not commending the show for that, mind you. It didn't like wow me. I was just like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot, of course. Like, that's how dumb this show is. Like
that we didn't guess the dumb storytelling.
It's just so bored by that. 2 minutes. Here's 2 Harfoots kissing. Also, tree that has branches. We out.
Gandalf goes to the Gerudo Valley. He meets up with not Saruman.
It's Saruman. My old friend.
He talks about how the 5 of us were in a distant land.
I know piss all about the lore, but there's 4 people he could be. He's not Radagast. He is Sauron. And there's 2 other blue wizards that I'm pretty sure we know very little about because they're not brought up. And it's like, if it was one of them, it'd be like no one would care. Not even casual Lord of the Rings fans would care. So he's Saruman. He even has like the beard that's like, it feels like it's half pitch, half white.
But his staff looks different.
It's extra evil.
It's extra evil.
He tries to be a friend. He's like, oh, I've protected your Harfoots.
He acts like feeble old man to try and convince Gandalf to come
instead
with
of Saruman the Stinky. And then he's like, oh no, these sand people have turned on me. They are the bad guys, not me. I just wanted your little fellas protected. And then he suddenly decides to be evil. Which again, this is the kind of thing that makes it not a Lord of the Rings prequel. Because Gandalf is like, at some point between this and that, becomes friends with him, even though their first meeting, Saruman was like, dude, I'm super evil.
Yeah.
And they even talk about how Saruman, do you want to defeat him or do you want to succeed him? Like, do you want to be in charge after him?
He said, we'll both succeed him together.
Which is something that happens in Lord of the Rings. Basically, Saruman's supposed to like study a bunch of the stuff to try to defeat Sauron and be like, actually, I'd be a pretty good leader myself. And he does a bunch of wanky shit along the way. Whereas in this, yeah, he comes across very much like evil 2,000 years early, even though he's not even supposed to be there yet. And he says Gandalf convinced him to come.
Yes, he said that he was the one who wanted to come because they couldn't do anything to intervene from that far away.
Yeah, whereas in lore, Gandalf didn't want to go. And the Valar were like, bruh, go defeat Sauron. Whereas in this version, Gandalf doesn't even know who Sauron is, hasn't met him.
Well, he's forgotten all his memory. Very convenient for storytelling.
He has no memory so that he was a mystery box. It's not like he's lost it for any good reason. Was the Dark Wizard sent to Middle-earth the same time as Gandalf, which was like beginning of season 1? Like, did they land at the same time and one of them just didn't lose their memory?
Surely.
Or was Gandalf shot last? Or did Gandalf die and then go back up and then get shot back down?
Dark Wizard just found his staff earlier, which gave him his memories powers
but
back.
Gandalf now has his staff and he still has no memory.
Well, he was like, they'll call me Gandalf.
Yeah, but that's not like remembering, because that's him like choosing a name that's in the future. That's what I mean, it's just nonsensical.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically it's Saruman, but he shouldn't be that evil or this early.
Well, they also obviously don't stay enemies for long, because even in like during The Hobbit, they fight the Necromancer together, if you're going to go off that.
Gandalf goes to like hang out with him in Lord of the Rings and then he's like, oh no, it's a trap.
Yeah, it's like
yeah, it's just stupid. And it's annoying that as soon as we saw him, I was like, Saruman. And then everyone was like, it can't be Saruman. He shouldn't be here. I'm like, Gandalf shouldn't fucking be here.
I thought we were going to get a reveal when the leader of the Hobbits is like, you're the Dark Wizard. And he's like, that is not a name that I've known.
I was given that by man.
I don't like that name. My name is Subscribe to Bergenbeard.
Saruman the Subscribe.
Saruman the First Sub.
Speaking of those fucking little hobbits, they get even less screen time than usual. Brandyfoot is like, peace out, Gandalf. I'm going to go with these guys. This little shitty hobbit hole's destroyed. We're going to go find a new one.
They're settlers, not movers, so they don't know how to travel on the road and survive.
And then Brandyfoot's like, I never wanted to leave. That's why I tried to stay behind on my first migration or something like that. So it's very much like, we're going to do the Shire. So this is the third storyline in a row that is like memberberry, like season 3 for us. We're just going to walk around and find the Shire.
These hills look perfect. It'll be our Shire.
God, how are they going to do that? What's something that rhymes with Shire? It'll be like the Fantastic Four, like, wait.
Say that again?
What a shit terrible show.
I wouldn't want to name it. I'm too shy.
Say that again?
Okay, off to our next storyline. We get to cross the ocean. We get to go to House of the Dragon again, as in we get to go to the other political king drama. So everyone was confused 2 weeks ago when they named Miriel Queen of the Sea.
Yes.
Because everyone's like, wait, so if she's Queen of the Sea, is Farazar just out now?
Yeah, she's queen of an entire sea. He's just a king of a city?
Are they both in charge? Does she now supplant him? So it's scissors, paper, rock. He went eagle, and that beat her dad.
But she said, no, let's go again. And she went sea serpent.
Well, giant sea beast. And he's like, fuck, that beats eagle.
But do you know what beats sea beast?
Letter from Sauron?
Letter just on a piece of paper that says she's working with Sauron.
We're not sure what it is. You made the joke. You're like, oh no, they forged a letter. Like, dear Queen Miriel, I am your best friend. Love from Sauron.
So they ring a bell that summons all the nobles. What have you summoned us here for? It's like, I believe this news is going to be quite shocking. And then he's like, Sauron?
Yeah, they don't tell us what it is. All I can assume, like, as in best case scenario for the writers, me giving them all of the benefits of all of the doubts. It's a letter from Galadriel saying Halbrand was Sauron. Like, if he rocks up there, kill him, or like take him captive. And then these guys are reading that as Queen Miriel sent Halbrand on a ship, which means they're besties, which means those 500 have all talked to Sauron and are therefore all evil.
Also, what does the tree dying mean?
Well, the tree dying means that Numenor is going to go underwater pretty soon, but that'll be next season. They pitched that for like season 1. They're like, the whole time the queen was having visions of the water rushing and crushing them all. So this note from possibly Sauron or about Sauron allows Farazon to arrest all of the followers, all the faithful.
Well, he just brings in like martial law,
Yeah.
essentially.
And everyone is okay with this.
But isn't that what he did before? After he got like inaugurated, isn't that the first thing he
Yeah.
pretty much did?
Yeah, this is like the third time people have been in chains. Like Elendil was there 2 episodes ago being like, oh, I'm in prison. And the queen was somehow allowed to be free. But now the queen's in chains. Elendil flees. His daughter loves him again.
The one important thing that happens is, so the daughter flip-flops, she goes and finds her dad, and she goes, quick, let's forget all that story that happened in the last 2 or 3 episodes between us. I need to hide you. The king is coming. And then he goes to find the queen, and he's like, we need to do something. And then we need to flee. And she goes, you're going to flee by yourself, and you're going to take this member berry with you, the sword.
Oh, God,
She gives him the sword of kings or whatever.
the white flame.
The white flame.
The flame of the west.
Anduril.
Anduril.
She gives him Anduril, and they do the exact same shot as when Aragorn like first like unsheathes it, and it kind of goes across his face, and his eyes trace it.
In fairness, Elendil does look sick as fuck. Like I've got to give him. He's got the visage. He looks cool, and he's like, whew. I just love a good sword. I'll touch on it now, but we'll probably make a whole video about it. But basically, they shouldn't have done a show called The Rings of Power. They should have done a couple of different movies or a couple of different anime series. Could have been dope, like the War for the Rohirrim one that's coming up at some point. And we should have had one about the dwarves, and we could do all our dwarven drama. And we could have had one about Elendil, and we could have had all that stuff. And then you can use the elves that never die to like link up their stories. Like halfway through the season of the dwarves, you have an elf rock up that can look identical to how he did 1,000 years before, and you solve all your problems. And then you don't have to worry about like cramming everything together. That's what they should have done. But yeah, he rides off into the sunset, which is what his Palantir
He
vision
sees
was.
his vision, yeah.
Again, that is basically like, this is going to be a political drama next season.
It just really set up next season. Like this episode did nothing to wrap up a show. It was all just to push next season, because they're like, we need to get renewed.
I think it's guaranteed. I think Amazon has the money. But the next storyline we get is the longest of the episode. It goes for a whole 18 minutes. We get 18 minutes of more or less the same area, which is we get Eregion. Galadriel, for some reason, is still in Eregion. Like, they're still getting sacked. Galadriel is there at night when she meets Celebrimbor.
Yep.
And he gives her the rings and says, gap it. Like, just go. These are 9 rings that Sauron needs. Just get out of here. And she doesn't. She hangs around with the women and children, awkwardly walking up to a guy,
There is an
stabbing them.
entire orc invasion force, including siege weaponry being fired into the city still.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I need to help these people escape. I understand she's a person with honor. But then you're also weighing up something that has the importance of all of Middle Earth around it, you know?
Yeah, and she's very much a, like, Sauron needs to be stopped at all chances. So, like, best case, she could have given those rings and then gone after Sauron because she knows where he is. But instead, she leaves through a secret passage, and the orcs knew exactly where that secret passage went. So why the orcs didn't go in that secret passage to invade the city, that would have been, like, a reasonable way for these orcs that we know love tunneling to get into the city. But they capture Galadriel and then take her to Adar.
And they know what the Rings of Power are, by the way. Even though they're not Sauron's orcs at that point, they're Adar's orcs. Adar doesn't know about the 9.
Adar doesn't know about the 1.
I called it.
It was so gross.
He goes, give me a reason. And I go, she's going to say,
I'll give you 9. And yeah, it called it perfectly.
he doesn't know what that means. He's an orc. He's not an orc attached to the Rings of Power.
Yes, Adar's invading Eregion to kill Sauron, and it pissed me off the most in this episode because Adar and Galadriel meet up and they're talking. Adar's hot now because the ring healed him, so he's like, "Hey, girl," and she's like, "What is your name?" And he's like, "Adar is the name I chose." Oh wait, Adar is the name
He earned it.
I had a name a long time ago, so that's 2 people this episode that got names. I guess we're like, "Oh, who could he be?" And I guess it doesn't matter because he's just one of the first elves to be turned, and I guess they didn't finish the job.
Yeah.
Morgoth didn't quite have the formula down.
He is proto-tyrant.
His sperm got more and more mutated.
Yeah.
Morgoth messed with his balls more than his face.
You see what his balls turn like.
Oh
too.
god. But yeah, and the thing that pissed me off the most is Adar says, "Here's the ring, babe. I'll let you go kill Sauron. That's all I want."
He goes, I'll recall all the orcs back to Mordor. There will be peace. You will not ever see another orc pillage a village, you know? And it's at that point I knew he's either going to catch an arrow to their back right now, or the next scene he's in, he's dying.
He had Galadriel kidnapped for like 3 days. At no point was she like, I can just walk in there and kill Sauron. They'll let me in. And he was like, dude, I only want to kill Sauron. I don't care about these other elves.
Whoa, dude, should we send you as an emissary into Eregion to say, whoa, no, they want to help us kill Sauron, and we don't have to kill anybody?
And then Celebrimbor will be like, I just figured out he was Sauron. And then be like, dude, let's fuck him up.
And I think everyone will realize that Sauron doesn't have an army. He's not actually a threat in this season at all. Tricks to God.
Turns out he gets said army.
Tricks to God.
Because the one orc, the family man orc, he walks in on Anatar and he's like, are you him? He's like, Sauron?
I have many names.
After he finishes crying, because Sauron has just killed Celebrimbor and saying that he wants to rebuild the world. So they definitely want us to have a little sympathy
He just
for
got declared
Anatar.
the Lord of the Ring, okay? He got the namesake.
But yeah, he's just like sad that he had to kill Celebrimbor because he's somewhat
He respected
redeemable.
him, okay? He shouldn't be redeemable. He's the Lord of Evil.
I'm okay with them doing stuff around Sauron, but I think they needed to actually do stuff around Sauron, whereas he's done nothing this season except act menacingly around Celebrimbor. Like all season, he's been doing about 2 things, and it's like they never bothered to develop him or anything. He's had like 2
It's
monologues.
manipulate Celebrimbor and make ring and sleep with Bronco.
I was gonna say, yeah, pat the hair of not Galadriel. So it's just like they just suddenly like want to click back to episode 1 where they tried to bother to do a little bit with Sauron.
Yeah.
They never bothered, and it just feels stupid.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? It's he asks him his name.
Oh, he does.
He goes, I have many names. What is your name, my son?
And he
Or
says,
whatever.
Gronk.
Grongos.
And then they Wookiee prisoner trick. So they're like, oh, Adar, he hurt my boy. And then Adar's like, you okay, boy? And he's like, psych, stabby, stabby. And it was, again, very obvious, very stupid.
Adar should know this.
Adar also immediately dies after, because like everyone gangs up on him. They Jon Snow the shit out of him. They do what all the orcs did to Sauron however long ago. Beginning of the Second Age. So it's possibly a long time ago.
However long it took him to get killed and turn into slime and then end up on the ship.
Yes, exactly that amount of time. Because it's been about 2 weeks since he was on that boat. Because this timeline is fucking
crazy,
messy.
huh?
It's a mess.
This is week 2. This is week 2 of the timeline, by the way, this season.
Week 1 was season 1. Week 2 was this week. And it's like, what the fuck? They stabbed the shit out of him. And it's like, these guys will turn on a dime. Like, Sauron can take over because of like fear and like, that's what he's supposed to do. Like, the orcs will work for whoever they're scared of.
Yes, that's what it should be. But they're not scared of Sauron because he hasn't done anything. The reason the orcs go to Sauron is because they don't feel like Adar has their best interests in mind.
You said you loved me.
You say, my kids, I want a union. But no, instead they just walk in on a room. What I pitched was they should walk in and Sauron should just immolate one of them just for walking in. And then the rest of them are like, oh shit, that's the Lord that we've been looking for of the ring. I heard him say it. And then that's when they start following him.
It's not even he like slowly gains followers by either like scaring them or like mind controlling them or
They
anything.
all just know as
It's
well,
just
by the way.
immediately,
They
they all
just know.
They're all just friends. And then him and Galadriel have a fight.
They battle it out in the most mediocre fight
It's
of our time.
so boring. Because I feel like there's 2 ways you can do a fight. You can do Aragorn versus that orc guy where it's like they're both swinging for their lives. Like it's brutal. It's like, it's messy. Just them beating the shit out of each other where it's like brutal.
They're doing anything as well. I think Aragorn bites him at one point.
Yes. Oh, look, bites his neck or some shit. And it's like, or you have Anakin and Obi-Wan and you have that clean, crisp,
Full choreography.
but instead Galadriel that can like take down a frost troll in like 2 seconds flat and like triple backflip or take down 20 orcs is like now like stabbing like this, because neither of them are fighters, so I guess neither of them can be stunt people. They're probably going to claim in the behind the scenes like, we did all the stunts, and it's like, we can tell it looked like shit.
Yeah.
Sauron's just like ting, ting, ting. They do move from place to place, so it's not completely static, but the places they move around to just are like, they walk backwards, or like he overpowers her and then she gets the second wind. Like she gets knocked down, gets a second wind. She falls like 1.5 meters at one point onto, because a rock moves. Like, meanwhile, Legolas is climbing up rocks, falling from things.
These are nimble-footed folk.
Yeah, but she falls on her side, and then she starts crawling towards her sword because that fall, like, eviscerated her. Again, a minute later, she's up again, and she's, like, fighting. I'm like, what is the second wind in these people? It's somehow so drawn out, so boring, and completely pointless all at once. It's magical.
And it's where storytelling for a character that we've already seen in the future alive and well is tricky, because there's no tension really, because we're like, even if she gets defeated, she's not going to die. She's alive in 1,000 years.
Even if you hadn't seen Lord of the Rings and you didn't know either of them survived or not,
she wasn't built up with enough tension to just die in this fight.
It's like, if she dies, that'd be the most boring thing ever. So you're like, cool, that changes nothing, because these two also haven't seen each other in 8 episodes. Their last confrontation was the end of season 1, and now we're at the end of season 2. So it's like they haven't had any more character drama. If anything, she wants to kill him less now. She went after him for a bit there, got distracted, and then half a season vanished.
Galadriel should have known that the crown was her only chance at killing him, and Sauron wanted the ring. We should have had a fight where they're both being a bit sloppy because they're trying to grab at what each other have. She wants his crown because she needs that to kill him, and he wants the ring. He's trying to isolate her hand, grab it, and that's when he's giving up like position.
Make it more interesting somehow.
Yeah, make it interesting instead of it's just fight, and then when he does use the crown to like spin things around and lock her swords in place.
It's for the trailer.
It's for the trailer, and it's just like, that's silly and wouldn't work. He's using it like Raphael uses like a sai in Ninja Turtles. She decides in the end, after being triple impaled by his crown, she goes, "You want this ring? Come and get it." And then does a double backflip.
She literally says out loud, "I've wanted to try this ever since episode 1 where Elrond did it." And then she jumps off a thing. But also, the Ring of Power did not help her in that fight at all.
She should have missed and hit a rock and like exploded it.
Yeah, she could have been at least a little better. Instead, she seemed worse than normal.
Because we know Galadriel's a little bit evil, and I think that's where they're going with the way they healed her. Like the darkness is going to be inside her, and that's how she has that evil spoopy form in Lord of the Rings.
I mean,
they're gonna do it, I know it. But they should have shown her lust for blood to kill him was like almost like she was corrupting her ring a bit, or she was using it for malicious intent.
Because the ring doesn't affect her at all, apparently. He says halfway through in the fight when he turns into her, he's like, "You can barely tell the difference between us anymore." And I'm like, I mean, I like the changing into things because that's a thing he can do. That's trickstery.
He should have fought half the fight as Elrond.
As a stuntman, so it could have looked good.
Correct.
He could have turned them both into stuntmen, and then they could have done a cool fight. Gil-galad and Arondir see her from forever away, and I get elf eyes. That's fine. I have no problem with them seeing a little speck in the distance and being like, "That's Galadriel." What I have a problem with is them looking up at the exact moment she jumps off a cliff silently, and the elves just look up and go, "Oh," and then they get there, and she landed on her back. I guess we're saying that the ring saved her life.
She wasn't wearing the ring. She was holding the ring. She fell. It looked like easily 100 meters.
More.
This is a woman who fell 1.5 meters off a rock and was crawling because, oh look, she was winded. She hurt her leg, whatever. And she is not a pulp.
Yep.
I don't care what you say about elven people being nimbly and light-footed.
She weighs nothing. She's feathered her way down.
They take fall damage, right?
Yeah, and then the reason Gil-galad and Arondir and Elrond are able to go help her is because they were doing the fighting, but then because of the last storyline where the dwarves are now finished with their all shit, the dwarves rock up.
They stopped that German book burning from happening?
Yes, it's definitely a little thing that they thought they needed to do. The bad guy burns books, I'm shocked. The dwarves rock up and rescue all the elves and stop the siege. Baby Daddy Orc runs up to Sauron at the end and goes, "We're overwhelmed, the dwarves have rocked up." And it's like, your invasion force is now beaten by this teleporting dwarven force. It's so hard to tell how time works in this show, because the dwarves had their old thing, but apparently that rocked up shortly after they were supposed to leave, because Elrond was expecting the dwarves at sunrise.
Yeah.
They rocked up, I guess, an hour late. Like, all that Balrog stuff just delayed them slightly. And he's like, "Shit, I've got to go. Elrond needs me."
I gotta go, man.
Durin stays back and, like, looks after his papa's grave or some shit. It was a little funny that Elrond was like, "Durin!" And then he turns around, it's not Durin. I'm like,
Racism.
Yeah.
They all look the same to me.
Short guy must be my bestie.
Gloop Glorp gets stabbed.
Yeah. That's to show Sauron evil.
Finally, that's the Sauron we wanted.
Yeah, which is why the other orc behind him is like...
He was like, "Oh shit,
fuck."
We better go, guys."
Yeah, it's how Sauron should be taking control of the orcs. It's just like, "I'll kill you." But again, episode 1 happened and we know 7 orcs can kick the shit out of him if they want to.
Yeah. Well, that poses a great question. 7 orcs, 1 Galadriel with a ring of power. Surely she has the might and the combat know-how. She's better than 7 orcs by herself. So her with the Ring of Power should be almighty.
Yeah, but her wearing the Ring of Power did literally nothing.
Also, my question, this immortal god of immortal evilness and trickery, why didn't he just go down to the bottom after she fell and just get the ring from her
she
clutches
survived.
of her hand?
He just jumped down.
Well, if anything, if you're saying that she could survive the fall, then he can definitely survive the fall because he's a demigod.
But there's dwarves down there, and they're scared of dwarves now.
There were no dwarves down there, and he's a trickster god. He could turn into Durin.
He's like, can I carry that ring for a sec? And God's just, yeah, man, yeah, no worries. Because every storyline, we need a, hey, do you remember Lord of the Rings? They go to Rivendell. Sorry, they go to a river and say, we will put a dell here.
They said, Dale, what do you think we should call this river?
Say that again?
So yeah, we have the epic shot of them being like, yeah, Rivendell.
All our 4 favorite elves just standing there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you celebrating? There are now 10 elves left in all of Middle-earth. You got mollywopped by orcs.
Arondir somehow survived. He got stabbed twice by Adar.
He went to their healers.
And once again, the orcs do not hate anyone except Sauron in their universe. So they sieged Eregion when they literally could have knocked on the door.
Excuse me, can Sauron come out to play?
My mum says Sauron can come over.
It's our turn with the Ring of Power.
Adar says to Galadriel last episode, I know Halbrand is Sauron. So if he wrote in English on one of the elven messengers, instead of where is he in black speech, if he wrote Halbrand is Sauron, they would have been like, and so we have Rivendell now. So that's our other storyline.
But also like, Celebrimbor is dead. He had 7 or 8 arrows shot in him.
No, he was just holding that one under his arm.
He had 2 in each of his thighs or knees, and he stood up.
Technically, in the actual chronology of the episode, they do sneak in a little bit of Isildur in there that we didn't touch on. Because it kind of touches other things. That too. We get 5 minutes of Isildur, and then Nori at the end. We get a little clip show that wraps everybody up.
Yes.
Like, we get Poppy, like, doing a monologue, and she's like, back when my parents died. And then they cut to, like, this every storyline we get again, but we get, like, Rivendell triumphant, Elendil riding a horse. We get, like, a little bit of everyone. Basically, Isildur is pining over his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that's his whole 5 minutes. He's like, damn, I wish my girlfriend was here. And then his girlfriend rocks up. And she's like, my husband loves me and he gives me the ick now.
My husband is literally clearing land and building me a house. And when he said that he loved me, all I could think about was you.
I just didn't know what love was until I met you.
Isildur has no riz at all.
And then they make out a bit, and then the douchebag son of Pharazôn rocks up, and he's like, by the way, we're turning this into our
Like
garrison.
forward operating base, kind of.
Yeah, because I guess they want a thing in the west. The only reason that exists is because Pharazôn at some point has to capture Sauron and bring him back to Numenor. But then he's like, hey, Isildur, your sister is happy you're alive. I'll take you back. And Isildur's like, can my girlfriend come? And the other guy says no, and he's like, shit.
He goes, can my girlfriend come? And he goes, your dad's a traitor. How about I take you back or you'll be dead? And he's like, what the fuck?
Like, dude, I left for 10 minutes. But he's like, oh, we're so glad you were alive. And he's like, I wouldn't be if it wasn't for my horse. And then the horse is there like, meh.
And then he's like, shall we kill his horse? And it's
Yeah.
like, that's how we know he's evil.
He's like, evil guy. I'm going to kick a dog. And he's like, I guess he's the bad guy.
Bring me the basket of puppies.
We thought he was the good guy till now. We were unsure.
But then that's exactly where Isildur ends.
Yeah, Isildur's just floating off so that he can be back in
He ends up
Numenor.
on the Numenorian ship, for sailing back, I guess.
What the fuck was the point of him? He didn't die. He was in Shelob's lair, even though he fought like one tiny spider. Went to save his not brother with Arondir for a second, just so Arondir could go somewhere. Like, his story went literally nowhere.
Yeah.
At least Arondir ended up in a storyline that mattered, whereas Isildur has just been hanging out here for nothing. If Isildur went back to Numenor with his dad, like he didn't somehow end up in Shelob's lair, nothing would have changed.
He should have stayed on that staircase because she's right-handed and so is he.
Oh,
and
can't swing.
she wouldn't be able to swing.
Yeah.
That's why staircases swell that way.
Keep her up against the wall. Oh,
Yeah, people in forts built them that way so that when they're going down, they can just be like, ha, and people going up would
they
have to be like,
backswing. So it's not so much the high ground that helps. With the low ground, you can shank them in the ankles. Like if you were to draw like my reach versus your reach my reach is more useful
You'd
when I'm
have to
lower.
get my sword or my head. And
Yeah, whereas I
I
can just like stab you in the ankles.
Anyway,
No, that's cool. I like that.
yeah, Poppy just recaps everyone's kind of sadness and triumphs, and then
We end on I am Gandalf. It's like, cool. What the fuck?
yeah,
Did any story not have a callback? I guess Isildur's, but Isildur himself is the, hey, remember Isildur? Mm-hmm. No, he's so pointless he didn't even get one of those.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we end the season with the 9 rings are in Sauron's possession, so he's going to dish them out to men. He doesn't have the dwarf rings. Durin does with his whole family drama.
You should throw them into a hole.
Give them to the Balrog. And then the 3 elven rings are now being worn by Gil-galad and Galadriel
And
Celeborn
wherever
still back in Hoo-Ha land. He just fucked off.
he's just hanging out fishing
Yeah,
with
we
it.
just didn't need him for the rest of the season. So they have decided that the rings are good. Like Elrond has come around and said, okay, these rings aren't evil.
Well,
These
he's like,
rings are
look,
good.
we can use this to heal her because the king's trying to heal her with magic.
He's like, I can't.
And then he's like, we can.
So he's like, oh, the rings aren't evil. We can use them. Even though they really don't do much with them. They say that they're going to use them to protect them, and I guess they do for a while. But as soon as the One Ring's made, then they take those rings off because they can't use them when the One Ring is around or something. Yeah, this is absolute dog shit. Every single part of it was stupid, and it was so unfocused that, again, you get 10 minutes with everyone, you don't care.
I'm going to say something brave. I liked season 1 better than this season.
Oh, season 1 was also dog shit, and we have a whole video on that. But I would rather watch, if you were like, watch one of them, I would watch season 1.
This felt like a long drawn out diarrhea.
Season 1 at least has a little bit more Elrond and Durin, which is fun.
Oh yeah, that's really good. And an introduction of things. Like it feels like
I guess there's a place for things to go at least. Or maybe it's just we were hopeful. You also get the Galadriel through line. So even though Galadriel is shit, she's going from place to place doing things. Whereas with this season, episode 1 was, oh no, Eregion is going to get invaded. Episode 8 was, we finally got invaded. Episode 1 for Durin was like, my dad's One Ring is evil. And then episode 8 is like, the One Ring is evil. Let's take it off him. Like, it takes them a whole season to do anything. Because we literally get 10 minutes per episode with everyone tops, meaning we get less than a movie length of each storyline. And it's like, why is this a series? It shouldn't be.
What do you think of people who are like, I'm just happy that there's more Lord of the Rings content out there?
Even if you're one of the loving people, like not just like
loves everything that comes out of it.
yeah, not the this is ruining Tolkien's legacy. If you're like, I love every bit of media that I'm given, I don't see how you can enjoy this. I stand by what I said before. What they should do is I should be getting 10 anime episodes, animated mainly because cheaper.
You can make cool things look,
100%. And
easier.
It's been proven that animation can take the world by storm just as well. Like, people fucking love Arcane. People are really hyped on the War of the Rohirrim.
When they brought back Castlevania in animated form.
That's probably the biggest reference. People really like the new Terminator Zero. Blue Eye Samurai, people frothed for. So, like, animation can make people go, horror, just as much as this show has. Because I know a lot of people not watching this show, so it's not like they would watch it less because it's animated. If they're not going to watch it, they're not going to watch it. I'm glad that's over.
Yeah, look.
We can rest.
Middle-earth can rest.
They call it 007.
0 plot lines, 0 character development.
7 bad episodes. But what did you think?
What did you think of season 1 compared to season 2?
Thank you very much for watching. Much appreciated.
Please subscribe.
That'd be swell. Keeps the lights on.
And they are getting dim, brother.
Sun's getting real low.